Taped from New Jersey, it's the SNL Nerds, the show where two comics from New Jersey nerd out over Saturday Night Live. I'm your co-host, John Trumbull.
And I'm your co-host, Darren Patterson.
And this week, because SNL has an off week, today, as we are recording it is Superb Owl Sunday.
Happy Superb Owl, everyone.
Yeah.
One and all.
For all you owl enthusiasts out there.
Owlcoholics.
Tonight is a big celebration of owls.
Huzzah!
And I guess as the people are listening to this on Monday or sometime after, they will know who wins Superb Owl Sunday. We do not.
Nope, no clue. After they finish watching Legend of the Guardians of Galul or whatever that movie is, it's...
Which you showed
movie.
me a trailer of that. I still do not entirely believe it exists.
Are you trying to say I made like a whole trailer of a movie on Photoshop and... other internet apps just to prove to you that my made-up movie exists?
I would not put it past you.
Well, I didn't this time, so there.
This time?
What?
So you've shown me other trailers that were fake. Wait, is Avengers Endgame real?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I need.
There you go.
As long as Avengers Endgame is real, I'm a happy person.
If it's not real, oh my God.
Oh, there's going to be hell to pay.
Oh, there'll be riots in the streets.
Well, yeah, torches and pitchforks.
Oh my God, the streets will run red with blood.
But anyway, since this weekend was the big game, we decided for the off week, for this unexpected off week, we would talk about athletes who've hosted Saturday Night Live over the years, and there have been very many athletes who've hosted Saturday Night Live.
Absolutely.
Over the years.
I know we give off the air of us not knowing much about the sports ball, but
and that there's a very good reason for that.
Yeah.
That is because we do not.
We do not.
We are two people who do not know much about sports.
We've avoided. Well, actually, have you? I mean, let's unpack this. What is your history with sports? Have you played sports when you were a kid? Do you follow sports at any time? Or
okay,
are you an athlete? Are you a jock and we just don't know it? What's going on? No. Okay.
No to most of those questions. I was not a jock. I never watched much sports as a kid, so I never really got triggered as a sports fan because
like Manchurian Candidate.
Well, yeah, my mom and my dad, they divorced when I was like very, very young.
Okay.
So like the only time that I would see sports would be when my grandfather was around and he was watching a football game, but it never really took.
Right.
And my biological father wasn't really a sports person either. So
okay.
Never watched that. Gym class in grade school taught me at a very early age to associate sports with assholes.
Gotcha.
So again, not a whole lot of interest in developing the sports.
You're not totally wrong on
And I remember at one point, this was somewhere, I think in my teenage years or maybe junior high years, my dad wanted to see if this was my stepfather. He wanted to see if he could possibly foster more interest in sports in me, so he signed me up for like a week basketball camp, a week-long basketball camp thing. But
how did that turn out?
It didn't turn out well because like that was for like really hardcore basketball
enthusiasts.
So like
extreme basketball.
Exactly. And I was a tall kid. I think I was like close to 6 feet when I was like 13 years old.
Damn.
So I sprouted early.
All right.
So if I had any athletic ability, maybe I could have played basketball or something. But no, that did not take. I did not finish the full week.
Okay.
They were doing basketball drills, and it was like a foreign language to me. It was just like,
yeah. No, I'm the same way. Like like my dad, of course, is huge into sports, and like I think that's the same thing. He tried to get me into sports when I was a kid. I was in the Boy Scouts, so we would like go out and play. Oh, what rank do you make?
I think I made it to second class, maybe. Yeah.
I think I made it to star. So,
ooh,
yeah.
well.
La-di-da.
All right,
Look where it's
all
got.
right.
I made it this far. Look where it's got.
Neither one of us made it to Eagle.
All right, well, why do you got to throw that in my face, man? Hey.
I'm just saying.
All right, fine, whatever.
Saying we could have done better.
You could have done a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, as far as sports go, like I never... like my dad was a big jock. He tried to get me into sports as well. Football, I can throw at football okay, but I never really got into it. Basketball, I'm terrible at. Baseball, I'm like so. I basically it's one of those things where if I wasn't naturally good at it, like I just lost interest in. I lost interest in it immediately. And I just never really Like, I just never really got into it that much. Like, my competitive side in sports, it just never sprouted.
I never got over that hump where you have to be bad at a thing for a few years before you can get good at a thing.
Exactly. That's exactly
I was like, I can stay in my bedroom and read comic books successfully on my very first try.
Yes.
I am going to foster this skill. And
this is where my future lies, clearly.
And well, I mean, it was because I mean that fostered my interest in art and drawing, and that eventually made me an art major in college and brought me to art school here in Jersey.
So there you go.
And I write for a magazine about comic books now. Yeah. So I think I made the right call.
Damn straight. See, so I'm the same way. Like, as far as sports goes now, like, I can do stuff like bowling and shooting pool, like Ralph Cramden sports, basically.
Yes, I enjoy those.
Like mini golf, I can do that. I can do mini golf. Okay.
Yeah, like, those are more my speed too.
Yeah, like sports that are barely sports that you can do while drinking. That's my wheelhouse.
That's a good litmus test.
Yes, darts. Stuff like that. Like that.
Stuff where you can have a beer in the other hand while you are doing the sports activity.
That's where I'm a Viking. That's where I soar like an eagle, baby. Trivia nights at bars.
Air hockey. Because of that, we've never really followed professional sports in a big way. I mean, we know the names of big sports stars.
Right.
If it's somebody who permeates the public consciousness enough.
Like LeBron James. I know who LeBron James is.
Like LeBron James or Shaquille O'Neal or, I know who those people are. In a few cases, I might be able to name the teams that they play for.
Derek Jeter.
Yankees.
There you go. Wow, you are a jock. Look at you. Oh, damn.
Yeah, I've picked that up. I picked up like two things from living in New Jersey since '94.
Just seeing Jeter jerseys everywhere. It's like, I guess he plays for the Yankees.
But a lot of the football players, if you ask me what team they played for, I might be able to guess it, but maybe not.
Right. I mean, one of the sketches we look at, Joe Montana. I had to look that up. I was like, I guess the San Francisco
sounds right to me, but
it is.
I don't know positively.
We won't even look it up. It'll be San Francisco.
I honestly didn't bother.
I'm not even going to look it up just to annoy any of our jock listeners out there. It's like, they're so wrong. It's not San Francisco.
If we are annoying any jocks with this podcast, I just consider that paid back.
That's for
how I suffered in grade school.
Payback's a bitch, right?
Yeah.
Right, Tommy Caroli from high school?
I did not enjoy being called those gay slurs.
Holy moly! Wow! All right, we're cutting deep here. I didn't know we'd unearthed something in you with this.
I've come to terms with being called that.
Okay, all right. It's okay. It's not your fault.
It's okay.
It's not your fault.
Yeah.
Hey, it's not your fault.
Thank you. We're gonna take a minute just to hug it out. Okay.
All right. So the sketches. All right. So, when we discussed this show on our last show, the James McAvoy episode, we actually got a few tweets from some of our dedicated followers about episodes or skits we should check out.
Yeah, our friends from That Week in SNL.
This week in That Week in SNL, they mentioned. Let's just dive into it.
Okay.
This one sketch, Deion Sanders, who hosted back in the day, I think in '95.
Okay.
It was the Simple Rappers sketch.
Yeah, I made it like 2.5 minutes into that one.
Yeah, I mean, for those that don't know, basically the premise is. Deion Sanders is part of this rap crew. It's him, Tim Meadows, and Adam Sandler. Mm-hmm. And they come out and they rap in front of this adoring crowd. And basically their raps are the beginning of the rap, and then they just end it. It
just ends very abruptly.
There's no actual rap. So they just go, yeah, here we go, what, 1, 2, 1, 2. Peace, we out of here. Like that's and the audience loves it and goes crazy.
And imagine that multiple times.
Right. I mean, usually in a sketch like that, there's somebody in it to act as sort of the voice of the audience to be like, hey, wait a minute, they're not like a voice of reason kind of thing, but there isn't. They just don't.
Yeah, it's just them doing it.
Yeah, and then everybody just kind of follows along and likes it, and then they just kind of repeat it, and then there's
And they said the whole Deion Sanders show is like that. So that did not encourage me to watch too much more of that particular episode.
I mean, I kind of remember that episode too. And I got the vibe that Deion Sanders was like a guy who's kind of very pleased with himself a little bit too much. Like he kind of laughs at his own jokes and like thinks he's more clever than he is. I remember thinking that when I was watching. I was like,
that's what happens to you when nobody in your life ever tells you no.
That's right.
That's my pet theory about our current president.
Yes. Oh, wow. We're getting political.
He thinks he's been surrounded by yes men his entire life, so he therefore thinks every idea he has is a pearl of wisdom and revolutionary. And if he hasn't thought of something, then no one has ever thought of it before.
Yeah,
because he's the smartest man ever.
Yeah, exactly. And, like when no one has told you, "Hey, your ideas are dumb and the way you're acting is terrible."
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you think everything you do is amazing?
Yeah, and I think it is a good thing for people's personal development to have a little hardship, have some things to overcome.
Absolutely.
Get called names in gym class.
Right.
Because then...
Let's not go back
then
there.
You are forced to actually develop a personality.
What? Yeah. What? Do you want to name names here on these things?
I don't know if I remember the name of that person, but
oof. All right. Well, if you do, we'll
tweet it out. It's okay.
We keep going back to this.
I'm 46. I'm over the trauma.
All right. I'm here for you, man.
This was like 30 plus years ago.
Do you want to go and get a drink after this?
We're good. We're good.
Okay.
I'm fine.
All right.
I'm fine.
All right.
So, did you have anything else to say about the Deion Sanders show?
That one, not really. I mean, it's very simple sketches. Yeah, I mean, I saw that week in SNL had, we're like, wow, this sketch is really not good, and I would have to concur. And we also got some suggestions from another Twitter follower of ours, Michael Burlew, at Daburls721, Daburls 721. He said, oh, you should check out one sketch I thought was a hilarious sketch, the Peyton Manning United Way sketch.
Yes, I watched that this morning. Peyton Manning, I have a little information on the show he hosted. This was in season 32. He hosted on March 24th, 2007. The musical guest was Carrie Underwood.
Wow.
So
it's a moment in time.
Yeah, that's why I was noting the musical guest, is because it really does mark these episodes in
very
time.
Much so. It's
even more so than the host, because music is much more. I guess it fades away faster.
Yes.
Like who the hot trendy person is changes very quickly.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Blind Melon is the musical guest.
Yeah,
all right.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly. We're going to have a few more of those. I had fun doing those.
Did I get one of those? Was Blind Melon one of those things?
No.
Oh.
No, it wasn't Blind Melon specifically, but there are some like Blind Melon that mark it in time.
All right.
So the United Way sketch, it was he's spending time with kids. As like a lot of athletes, they do charitable things like Make-A-Wish or whatever, and spending time with underprivileged kids. And the twist on here was Peyton Manning is kind of a dick.
Yeah,
and he's tossing football with them, but he's like knocking all the kids over with footballs.
He's throwing footballs directly at children's faces,
and they're all being knocked over and falling to the ground, which to me is just prime comedy.
It is.
An adult knocking a child over will never not be funny to me.
Look, Yes, it's a simple premise, but damn it, it's a good one.
Because it's something that you're not supposed to do in life. So it's hilarious to me to just see an adult doing it with abandon.
Yeah, and he just screamed at the kid, "Hey, get your head out of your ass!"
Yeah, and he like exiles one kid into like the porta potty
for 20 minutes,
and he's like, "No, close the door, close the door."
And then there's one part where he like teaches the kid how to break into a car with a coat hanger.
Right.
And the kid's like, "Why don't you just use your keys?" Like, and then oh, cops, go, run. And he'll like scatter.
And you see him also using one of the kids to like pick up a woman on a park bench, and she's like, "Hi, Mom." And he's like, "No, honey, I told you your mom's dead." "Oh, hi, I'm Peyton."
Sup, I'm Peyton. Yeah, and like one of the kids gets a tattoo.
Yes.
That was like, whoa.
And he's like crying, and he's biting onto a belt,
like a leather belt, and it's like, that'll be there forever. It's a tattoo of Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
It had a very like Bad News Bears feel to it, I think.
Yeah. That was cute. I liked it.
Yeah, and there was one part where at the end he was like drinking and talking to the kid, and be like, "Look, I'm saying I'll kill a snitch. I'm not saying I've done it. I'm not saying I haven't done it." Yeah, and it's just like, wow, this is. But he was very good in it too. Like I was like,
he was not bad. He was not bad.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I find his Nationwide commercials horribly annoying, but I enjoyed him in this.
His Nationwide commercials needs more throwing football at children.
Yes. So, if there was less of him singing the Nationwide jingle and more of him knocking over children, I would enjoy that so much more. Those would be my favorite commercials ever.
Get on it nationwide. That's a free one. That's free. That's a free one
right.
for you.
That's right. That's just for us.
Right.
That's just for you, so that you can entertain us more, and I will feel more favorably inclined towards your product.
Just tweet out our podcast and we're consider it even.
Yeah.
That's
there was
$1 million idea just for you.
There was another sketch from the Peyton Manning show that I watched. It was called Locker Room Motivation. Do you remember this sketch?
Locker Room Motivation.
This is Will Forte.
Oh, this for a later one, wasn't it? Was this on the same?
This
Peyton
was on
Manning?
the same show.
Oh, all right.
I believe he only hosted once.
Okay, all right.
But Will Forte is a basketball coach at halftime, and they're bringing all the guys back into the locker room to give them the pep talk.
Yes, I do remember this.
And it was a sketch that's so bad. He says the cheerleaders started rooting for the other team, which is a great line. And Peyton is the main guy in the sketch, and he's saying, Coach, I don't want to go back out there. Honestly, when I thought about going back out there, I peed a little. And Will Forte is like, look, if I didn't do something every time I peed a little at the thought of doing it, 3 of my 4 children would not exist. And he's like, my pants are soaked with urine right now. Feel them. They are soaked.
I feel like Will Forte was very underrated.
Yeah, I mean he had
him and Chris Parnell. I feel like they don't get the props.
He had a real feel for these bizarre sort of things, and I actually found. When I was looking for this sketch online, I found a thing on a website where Will Forte talked about writing this. I should describe the end of the sketch a little more, the main part. To really pep up the team, he plays them a song to get them pumped up.
Yes.
But the song he plays them is the theme to 1967's Casino Royale by Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass.
Oh, the Pert.
And then Will Forte just starts dancing around to it, and just, this must be seen to be believed. It's a very visual sketch.
He dances for a while.
He dances for an uncomfortably long time, and then Peyton Manning joins in towards the end because it works. He gets pumped up.
He dances longer than he dances a little too long, but then it becomes funny again when he dances longer.
Exactly. It's
like, ooh.
I was reading about this, and apparently the dancing was an afterthought. Originally, the joke was just he plays this inappropriate song to pump them up.
And he just
and then they were about to turn in the sketch. Will Forte co-wrote this with John Lutz, Lutz, and he says they just added the dancing right before they turned in the sketch.
Huh.
And then he did it. He did it at dress rehearsal, and it went okay, but not great.
Right.
And Lauren was like, or maybe less dancing on the live show. But when the live show came around, it went better than ever. And Will Forte has said that was his favorite thing that he did in the entire 8 years he was on SNL.
Wow.
So he said there in that whole time there were 5 or 6 sketches that went better than I was expecting, and that was one of them. And that is his favorite sketch.
It's a good sketch.
It's great. Peyton actually he covers his mouth with a towel to keep from breaking.
Beautiful.
But very, very funny sketch. It's just one of those things that's so goofy and bizarre you have to love it.
Yeah, it's I mean, again, we can't describe it, properly. But once you see, it's one of the things that has to be seen to be fully appreciated.
I strongly recommend to everybody listening to this, look that up online. It's not too tough to find. I believe you can find it on NBC
on the interwebs.
In preparation for this episode, I downloaded the SNL app.
Ooh.
Where you can watch old sketches and things. Ooh. And so I'm pretty sure that sketch is on the app. I didn't watch that one on the app, but I'm sure you can find it.
All right.
So
awesome.
Little free plug to NBC Universal there.
So if they people at NBC Universal want to maybe give us some SNL swag our way, that'd be nice
we'd enjoy that.
Yeah,
we're pro swag.
Yeah, we can be bought. We're helping you guys out.
If there's one takeaway from this podcast, it is Darren and I can be bought.
Yes.
Very easily.
I walk around with a for rent sign hanging over my neck at all times.
I keep my pockets turned inside out all the time so that people can see. Throw money in there.
Like the littlest hobo. The littlest pauper.
I'm like Marty McFly's son in Back to the Future 2.
Oh, that's
doing that little.
Oh, that's a deep cut.
Yeah.
Oh, that's deep. Oh, that's deep. All right, so another sketch that Michael Burlew suggested us is the Peyton Manning sketch with the honest roommate, the superly honest roommate.
I believe you mean Joe Montana.
What'd I say?
You said Peyton Manning.
Son of a. See, I don't know sports. I meant Joe Montana. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So this one I saw on Vimeo because I couldn't find it on
I
the
think
SNL.
that's how I watched it.
Okay.
That was from a show that Joe Montana co-hosted with Walter Payton, who was his teammate. This was on January 24th, 1987, season 12. Musical guest Debbie Harry. Not Debbie Harry and Blondie, just Debbie Harry. So
Solo work.
She's trying to make the solo thing happen.
Gotcha.
So this was apparently called Sincere Guy Stew.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So basically, the rundown is it has Jan Hooks and Phil Hartman, and they're two people on a date at the guy's place, and it's at that moment of the date where it's time to seal the deal.
Yeah, you have to figure out if the woman is going to go home or if she's going to spend the night.
Yes,
and they both want to spend the night,
but they don't want to.
They don't want to be too overt about it.
Right, and that's all kind of relayed because they have them speaking, but then they show their inner monologue come out. Like Phil Hartman will say, "Hey, this was a great night," and then Phil Hartman's thinking, "Oh, I want to jump her bones." But then Jan Hooks says, "Oh, yeah, it was a great night too," and Jan Hooks is thinking, "I want him to jump my bones." And so then they kind of do this little dance where
kind of sniffing around each other.
Yeah, it's like, "Oh, do you want to? It's late. Do you want to stay over?" And then Joe Montana comes because he's Phil Hartman's roommate, and he's saying, "Oh, this is my roommate Stu. He's like the most honest guy you'll ever meet."
And he comes in and says, "I'm very happy to meet you." And then it cuts to a close-up of Joe Montana, and his inner monologue is, "I'm very glad to meet her." It's hilarious because you got the juxtaposition of what Jan Hooks and Phil Hartman are saying and how that contrasts with what they're actually thinking. And with Joe Montana, it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
And it's just hilarious. I think this sketch is an instant classic.
And then it ends with the classic line where...
"You won't bother me at all. I'll be upstairs masturbating."
Yeah, and then he says it, and then he goes back to thinking,
okay.
It's like, they won't bother me at all. I'll be upstairs masturbating.
And the sound from the audience, they were so shocked to hear, because this is 1987.
Yeah, that might have been...
You don't hear that word on TV much.
You do not. I was shocked.
You don't hear it on TV too much these days, but it's...
You hear it a little bit, but definitely not on, prime time.
No.
Yeah, I remember watching that. So it was 87, so I was...
January 87.
So I was, 10?
Do the math.
Yeah, I was 10. So,
okay.
I remember, I was like, oh my gosh, masturbate. Yeah. I clutched my pearl. Oh my.
You became Margaret Dumont all of a sudden.
I fainted on a nearby...
Oh, yeah. Oh, my smelling salts.
I fainted on a nearby couch. But yeah, I remember, hearing that, I'm like, oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I knew 100% what masturbating was, but I just knew that was some wild shit I heard.
Yeah, I was let's see, January 87, I would have been 14. So I'm pretty sure I knew what masturbating was.
Yeah.
By that point. I'd have to check my notes on that.
Check your calendars?
Yeah, just check my calendars. I got my Brett Kavanaugh calendars all.
Oh, boy. We are getting political today.
But the thing I love about this sketch is it turns a disadvantage into an advantage because it uses... most athletes that are not trained actors or sketch performers.
Right.
So it uses the stiffness of the athletes to their advantage.
Yeah.
Because honestly, the stiffer he is in the sketch, the funnier it is.
Very much so.
Because he's supposed to be an awkward guy. And I noticed that in most of the sketches on shows where athletes host, they are having the cast carry it. And then the athlete just comes in every once in a while.
Yeah, very much so.
And this sketch was a wonderful example of that. It's just really great writing, and it's a quick sketch. It's maybe 3 minutes.
Really quick.
It just gets in, out, and it gets the job done.
Right.
I think it's an instant classic. I love it.
Very in, out, masturbating, boom. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, from what you said, I agree with that kind of too. I've always felt like athletes have always been, because they're not natural actors, with the exception of wrestlers, which we'll maybe get into later.
Yeah,
but usually when it's a athlete, football player, basketball player, they're always kind of stiff and looking at the cue cards a lot.
Yeah.
So I mean, the fact that they
understandably,
yeah, they're not in their element. So the fact that they kind of took that and kind of set a plan for that and kind of wrote their sketch code around that, so that their stiffness would be like a more of a strength is pretty genius.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Was there anything else we wanted to say about the Joe Montana one?
No, not gonna think about it. Oh, well,
Okay.
Michael Burlew again, he suggested Wayne Gretzky. We can get into that a
Okay,
little
yes.
bit.
I watched some stuff from the Wayne Gretzky show. I actually...
Do you have the musical guest for that?
Yes.
Ooh.
Okay, this
Wow,
is
you're
what I was
good.
talking about. This is the Wayne Gretzky show was from May 13th, 1989, season 14. So it had to be towards the end of the season. Musical guest, Fine Young Cannibals.
Woo!
So
She
that's...
drives me crazy.
She drives me crazy and I can't help myself. That was our falsettos.
Not bad, right, guys?
That's right. That's right. And now that song's going to be in your head for the rest of the fucking day.
You are welcome.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Enjoy the Fine Young Cannibals running through your head.
Yeah.
A little backstory I discovered on this episode. When I was looking up info on this episode, I found a clip from Conan O'Brien's talk show.
Ooh.
And Wayne Gretzky was guest starring in 2014, and he said that he found out that he was going to be hosting SNL by reading about it in the paper. He was on a flight to Kentucky. He reads in the paper Wayne Gretzky to host SNL, and he turns to his wife, and his wife says, "Yeah, I called Lorne Michaels back and told him you would do it. It's going to be the greatest week of your life."
Wait. All right.
His wife, Janet Jones, who I believe was like a model or something.
Yes, actress model.
Yeah.
So his wife said, "Yeah, he'll do it," and she just didn't tell him.
And she didn't tell him
What
because
the
apparently he
fuck?
was on the fence about it. And then
Yeah.
can you imagine finding out you're going to host Saturday Night Live in the next few weeks
But
by reading it in the damn paper? That's an incredible story.
That's like when your friends are like, "Oh yeah, I signed you up for improv classes."
Or if your dad is like, "Oh, I signed you up for basketball camp."
Exactly.
That I'm still a little better about.
Oh boy, all
that
right.
I'm still a little better
See,
about.
we keep going back to this, man.
You know what? I've got a lot of childhood trauma that I've got to start to work on as soon as we finish recording.
Oh boy, we'll go out for drinks.
We're gonna
It's Super
we're gonna
Bowl.
talk this out.
It's Super Bowl Sunday. I'm sure all the bars are empty.
There's exactly. I've got some stuff to unpack.
Oh, boy.
But I think that's just such a great story, and
it is. Wow.
His wife Janet Jones actually made a cameo on the show.
Yes,
as well.
The Wayne's World sketch.
The Wayne's World sketch. I looked it up. This was actually the third ever Wayne's World sketch.
I could tell, like, for some reason, the lighting was really dark on that sketch. Did you notice that?
Yeah, I didn't really notice the lighting. But
super dark.
But the previous two times they did this, it was literally the last sketch of the night, and this was when Wayne's World kind of got promoted. Right. It was in the first half hour of the show. It was like second sketch of the night. And it's Wayne and Garth. They're playing hockey. Well, Wayne Gretzky comes on as a guest on Wayne's World, and they have one of their trademark fantasy sequences where Wayne and Garth play hockey with Wayne Gretzky, and Wayne slams Gretzky against the glass. He scores a goal. He hugs Gretzky's wife, Janet Jones.
Then Dreamweaver plays in the background.
The same gag they did in the movie with Tia Carrere.
Yes.
And
Mike Myers really likes Dreamweaver.
Well, sure.
That's my takeaway.
That's a great song.
It's a fantastic song.
Wonderful song. And it was a wonderful way to signify musically like that, oh, I'm instantly falling in love with this person.
Yes, very much so.
It's just such a cheesy song. I think that was a great choice. And Mike Myers, Canadian, so obvious. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say he's a big hockey fan.
He is. Yeah, didn't he mention that on the Mark Maron podcast? I feel like when he was
when he
was on WTF, he mentioned he was like a huge hockey fan and like. I believe he played.
So he's got some moves. I mean, Garth is Dana Carvey's just standing there being the goalie, but Mike Myers is Wayne. He's actually skating around and he's shooting. So yeah.
It's always weird when you find out like a cast member has like other skills. Like it's like when I found out when Dana Carvey showed he could actually play the drum.
Right.
He was drumming as Garth.
Yeah,
I was like, oh wow, he can do other things. Huh?
Yeah.
How about that?
But I mean, that must have been a thrill for Mike Myers, right? If he's a hockey fan, and like I'm sure he was like a big fan of Wayne Gretzky because he played for Edmonton, I believe.
I thought it was the Kings.
He was transferred a few times. I think. So
again, we're not going to look it up.
Why bother? You guys have Wikipedia.
Just to cheese off the jocks.
Yeah. But I mean, that must have been a thrill. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, to play that sport with one of your heroes.
I know. Like, I mean, I'm not a huge hockey guy at all, but I know the name Gretzky. It's like one of those. And I know Mario Lemieux because I think Fife mentioned him in a Tribe Called Quest song. But like, it's one of those things. No, trust me, he did.
All right.
But it's one of those things where, like, you know, like you're playing against this athlete who's like a god in your eyes. It's like playing basketball against Jordan or something like that.
Right.
It's got to be a huge thrill.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, that must have been fun. There was also, I looked up a few other sketches. There was fishing with the anal retentive sportsman.
I like that character a lot that Phil Hartman did.
The anal retentive sketch, I didn't write down how many times they did it. I think it was only like 5 or something like that. This was the second time he did the anal retentive character. It started out as the anal retentive chef, and that's how most people remember him. But that was a fun sketch because you get to see Wayne Gretzky eaten by Montauk bluefish at the end, and they have a gigantic fish like come up and swallow him,
like land shark size.
Bigger.
Ooh,
like 3 land sharks.
Candygram.
Yeah.
All right, I didn't. So I gotta watch that one. I missed that one.
That I believe was on the SNL app.
Okay.
And there was another sketch. I couldn't find anything more than clips of it. This was, but they did show a little clip of this on Conan O'Brien. It was a sketch called Waikiki Hockey, which was a parody of like a 50s Elvis movie or early 60s Elvis movie.
Oh, I do. Wait, whoa, I do remember that.
And we got Wayne Gretzky. He's a young busboy who has a huge talent at hockey. He can like fling like pieces of meat into the garbage can.
Right. I do remember this.
And we've got Dana Carvey as he's like the rich preppy snob. And I mean, it's just so in Dana Carvey's wheelhouse. And Jan Hooks as Anne Margaret. And she did a killer Anne Margaret.
Jan Hooks, criminally underrated.
Jan Hooks.
Will Forte, Jan Hooks, criminally underrated.
Jan Hooks playing Anne Margaret. It's just beautiful. This entire sketch needs to be up. If anybody at SNL or NBC Universal is watching this, please put Waikiki Hockey up.
Thank you.
I just saw clips of it, but it looks hilarious.
Give us the swag first, then put this up.
And another thing is Conan O'Brien has a little cameo in it.
Ooh.
Young Conan writer at SNL. This is like
fresh-faced O'Brien.
Fresh-faced Conan O'Brien. This is 1989. He plays a drummer in a band because, like, at one point Wayne Gretzky gets up and he's singing like this Elvis song. He's like Waikiki Hockey, and the music is dubbed, or the voice is dubbed. He's just lip syncing.
He's not actually singing.
He's not. He said that he was like rehearsing it in the song in his hotel room with his 3-month-old daughter. And he's like tone deaf, so he not a good singer, but he had to know it enough to lip sync it accurately.
Okay.
But they got Conan O'Brien to play the drummer, and he doesn't have any lines or anything. But Conan says like, "Oh, I was so excited, and I was telling people what I was going to be on it, and I didn't realize I didn't have lines or anything." I was just, and you see him in the background. They showed a little clip of Conan, and they just put a little circle around his head. It was fun.
All right.
It was fun. But
Waikiki Hockey. Find it if you can, people.
Absolutely. That's fun stuff.
All right, far out. All right, so so those are the sketches that our fans asked us to watch, and the ones that I kind of watched on my own. Well, I mean, there was actually one reoccurring sketch that like two athletes were on at 2 different times, and that's the Daily Affirmation with Stuart Smalley.
Right.
There was one where Charles Barkley hosted.
Yes.
Musical guest Nirvana.
Ooh, I have heard of them.
You've heard of Nirvana?
I have heard of the Nirvana.
They're a little known indie trio.
Yeah.
You know, they had a few hits here and there.
Yep.
And so the Daily Affirmation with Stuart Smalley sketch you can find, which I kind of like the Stuart Smalley sketch. It's like you don't seem to agree.
Okay. I watched one Stuart Smalley sketch in isolation for the show. We'll get to the other one that we did a little later.
Right.
I didn't watch the Charles Barkley show, so I'm looking forward to hearing about that.
Okay.
Stuart Smalley, I did look up how many times they did Stuart Smalley altogether. 18.
18?
That seems like a lot.
That is a lot.
Now, watching the one I did in isolation, I was like, "Oh, that's cute." But I remember them going to that well way too many times. And they really drove it into the ground. So I think by the time
the movie
they
came
were
around,
done with Stewart's, I've never watched the movie.
Oh,
But I think by the time they were done with Stuart Smalley, I was just so sick of it because they did it too much.
Oh, so maybe it was that thing. Like maybe it's a sketch that's good, but they ran into the ground.
Familiarity bred contempt.
It's like the same way they overplayed Santana's Smooth back in the early aughts.
Yes, that's a very good analogy.
Thank you.
Yes,
it's a good song.
It was the Santana's Smooth of SNL.
That's right.
Yes.
Well, it's a hard one.
What was the name of the singer on Santana's Smooth?
Rob Thomas.
Rob Thomas. Thank you.
Candlebox from Matchbox 20.
From Matchbox.
Candlebox. Whoa, that's a different 90s band. Okay. Yeah, Matchbox 20.
Okay.
All right. I know my 90s.
All right.
All right. So
tell me about the Charles Barkley.
So in this one, it's Stewart has on Charles Barkley. He calls him Charles B to protect his anonymity. And like basically he tries to, get Charles to open up and see how he feels. How do you feel about I think one of the opening questions like how are you feeling? Are you sad? Are you happy? Then of course Charles because Charles Barkley was known as being very braggadocious, a lot of bravado. He's like, no, I got millions of dollars. I'm playing an amazing sport. I'm doing great. And he says, oh, well, since you're such an amazing athlete, I'm sure that means you have a lot of championships. And then he said, well, actually, no, I've never won a championship, which he didn't. He never won. And then, of course, they go, how does that make you feel? And, he gets very defensive. It's like, no, I feel great. I feel fantastic. And then, Stewart's kind of prodding him a little bit more to see, does he really feel like you're an amazing person. You don't need to feel bad because you never won a championship. And then he brings out Muggsy Bogues, another player, and they get into a little bit. They have a little contention. Like I think he calls.
Was it the real Muggsy?
It was the real Muggsy Bogues, and he calls Muggsy Bogues an ugly midget at some point. Which that wouldn't
seems harsh.
That wouldn't fly any. But then they have a heart to heart, and then Muggsy's like, "Hey man, I love you. It's okay. You didn't win a championship. I can see how you wanted it." But as he's saying this, Charles is breaking a little bit, and then they hug it out, and Charles is like, "Oh, I am somebody. I am a good person," and it was a great guy.
Oh, that sounds really funny.
Yeah, it's so interesting. The Daily Affirmation sketch are pretty interesting because he kind of touches on the fact that maybe these athletes are a little insecure, and he tries to play on that a little bit. Yeah,
I mean the Stuart Smalley character is interesting because I know it sort of arose out of. I nearly said aroused.
Whoa!
It aroused out of.
You did it again.
I did it again. It's because I'm about to talk about Mr. Al Franken. Problematic Bell. It arose out of Al Franken's experiences in 12-step programs because he got sober sometime I think in the 80s. Okay. I'd have to look that up, and he got into I think Al-Anon and AA or whatever.
Okay.
And so that the character kind of grew out of his experiences in there.
Okay.
And that was also contributed to his falling out with his former writing partner Alan Davis because
Tom Davis. Franken and Davis.
Tom Davis.
Tom Davis. Yeah.
Screwing up the names left and right.
Oh boy.
Okay.
This basketball camp thing is really throwing you off your game.
It really is. It really is. It screwed up his relationship with Tom Davis because Al got clean and Tom did not. Tom, I think, was maybe a casual drug user at that point.
That sounds about right.
And Tom Davis, by the way, has written about or wrote about this in his book. So I'm not telling tales out of school or anything.
R.I.P.
And so that was a source of friction between them.
Wow. That sucks. I remember they were an amazing writing team.
They were. The Franken and Davis. They were the guys, and they were comedy partners. And
maybe we'll do a SNL writers episode and talk about.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that. But I mean. So
it wasn't when he did the Stuart Smalley character. It's not out of he's mocking the sort of the process of people who are going through recovery. It's it comes from a place of love.
Yeah, and it was more about the character than he wasn't making jokes about getting clean or the programs or anything like that because he was a supporter of that, and I think he wanted to create a positive character.
Yeah, no, he absolutely
along
did.
those lines. The other daily affirmation sketch with Stuart Smalley, and we can go back and do some other Charles Barkley stuff later, but I figure it makes sense to talk about this one now.
Let's go for it.
They did one with Mr. Michael Jordan.
Yes, Michael J. to protect his anonymity.
Yes. Again, Michael J. to protect his anonymity. He's saying, like, do you ever have confidence problems? Like, do you lie awake at night saying, I'm not good enough, everyone is better than me, I have no business playing this game? And Michael Jordan's like, no, I really don't have that. Because this is when Michael Jordan was at the top of his game. This was, let me look up when the Michael Jordan show was. It was a season premiere of season 17, September 28th, 1991, with the Public Enemy as the musical guest.
Ooh, shit, what?
Yeah, so that's a blockbuster show right there.
Fight the power.
I mean, they were killing it in the early 90s.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was another funny sketch, and it's just kind of the juxtaposition of Stuart Smalley, who knows nothing about Michael Jordan. He knows less about sports than Darren and I do.
Less.
And he's like, I'm not going to say what team you play for to preserve your anonymity, and it's just it was a funny idea. It
was good. It was like, he says things like, of course, the Nile ain't just a river in Egypt.
One of the classic Stewart lines. And at the end, Michael Jordan, he's like speaking into the mirror for his affirmation, and saying like, I don't have to make a basket every time.
Because I'm good enough, smart enough,
and darn it, people like me.
That's it. Because like part of me thinks like maybe they actually do in real life have those, feelings of doubt and sort of
I'm sure,
not being the best.
I'm sure they have, or they have, or maybe their problems arise from feeling a lot of drive to be the best and maintain their records, and I know that they probably had like people come in to give the team's pep talks and things like that. So I don't think that sort of stuff is unheard of in the sports world.
That's true. I mean, I feel the same way every time I get behind this mic and do this podcast. I got to be the best, man.
The Michael Jordan episode, I just want to note some of the other things that were in it. We had one of the classic SNL fake commercials, Schmidt's Gay.
Oh shit!
That Adam Sandler and Chris Farley, where they're house sitting and the house is really run down, and then they turn on the water in the swimming pool, and a lot of really attractive men in the bikini briefs, speedos, banana hammocks.
Yes,
they're like, you look like you guys need to get a little wet, and then it's all them dancing around and having, and it's like the formula of a typical beer commercial where they'd usually have bikini women. Yeah. Here they have bikini dudes. But I got to say, this sketch, it's not as funny as it originally was because they had to replace the music.
Oh.
They originally used Van Halen's Beautiful Girls.
Oh, okay.
And, it's got that great guitar riff.
And very musical podcast.
And you're hearing, and then like you're hearing the David Lee Roth lyrics, and they had to replace that with sort of a generic sound-alike. I'm guessing just because of music rights issues.
Yeah.
And it's honestly just not as funny because the generic music, it's like kind of repetitive, and it makes the sketch a little repetitive. So again, the people at SNL, if you're listening,
we know you are.
Pay Van Halen for that song because it's just not the same without that song. Or Van Halen, bring your price down on that song a little bit, just in the name of comedy.
Let's hammer this out.
Let's work this out. I don't know who's being the obstinate one.
Right.
I don't know if it's on the NBC Universal side or the Van Halen side, but let's work it out, people.
Let's get together. We'll mediate
for posterity.
Yes,
we need this to happen.
We'll rent out a boardroom, and we will like Van Halen be on one side, SNL be on another.
We'll bring Adam Sandler in.
Yeah,
just have him there because I just think it would be fun to have him around there.
Yeah.
And what do you think? What do you think, Adam? I think we should have the music in the episode. But I just wanted to mention that there was also another sketch. I couldn't find this online, but I vaguely remember this one where Michael Jordan was the first black Harlem Globetrotter.
Oh,
and this was going back to like 1910 or something like that. Whenever the Globetrotters were founded, and Michael Jordan was playing the very first black player they had, and he's doing all revolutionary things like spinning the ball in his finger and doing layups and before that, it's all being played by like these conservative white dudes,
just like hey,
who just are very formal, and I remember that sketch. I wish it was up.
Oh wow, yeah, I kind of remember that sketch.
He also did one of the Bill Swartzky's Superfans.
Oh,
sketches,
Superfans.
So it was.
That's football and basketball.
Yeah, it was all Chicago sports.
Chicago.
All the guys doing the Mike Ditka.
That's not the first time I realized like Chicago people have an accent. Like when I saw that sketch, like I guess that's
they all talk like Dennis Franz.
Yes, I was like, I guess that's how they talk. That's Chicago.
Yeah.
They
all talk like the Chicago.
Yeah, they all talk like this right here.
And amazingly, I found they only did the Bill Swartzky's Superfans 5 times. I only found listings of that 5 times on the SNL archives site. And Joe Mantegna did it the first time. Okay. He was Bill Swartzky, and then the second time they did it was when George Wendt was hosting.
And then he kept.
And then George Wendt was the guy, which had to make Joe feel like crap.
Yeah, I guess like, hey, I can't. Well, I guess is Joe? He's not from Chicago, right?
I don't know.
I guess maybe George Wendt just like hones it
because George Wendt is a Second City guy.
He's all Chicago.
Yeah.
So I guess he's able to.
So that was right in George Wendt's wheelhouse. I'm sure.
Yeah,
but that he became one of the rare hosts that it comes back and has a recurring bit.
That's pretty far out.
Those aren't really related to Michael Jordan directly, but I just would have felt bad if I didn't mention those.
It's sports related. It's all cyclical.
You had some more about the Charles Barkley show.
Oh yeah, well another one that was mentioned to us is we should watch the. There's a small sketch where Charles Barkley plays basketball against Barney, the purple dinosaur.
Nice.
And I couldn't find it anywhere. I found a clip of it, like a 30-second clip, and that was it. Okay. But yeah, so it's basically Charles Barkley playing against Barney, and of course it's like a guy in a Barney costume who's like, hey, sharing is caring. And
now who's winning?
You would think it'd be close, but it is not, because Charles Barkley is a bit of a ruffian.
Oh.
So it's basically a lot of Charles Barkley kneeing Barney in the face and elbowing him in the stomach and be like, yo, where you at, Barney? Where you at?
Which I'm
just like slam dunking on Barney.
I'm sure a lot of people wanted to see Barney the dinosaur get beaten up in the early 90s because he reached a really obnoxious level of cultural permeation.
There was, yeah. I mean, I'm sure maybe, of course, our millennials may not remember, but there was a time where there was this purple dinosaur called Barney who had like a huge, big children's television show,
and it was young kids. It was like preschool or kindergarten,
like little young.
And so he's talking to kids on that level that I love you, you love me, we're a happy family.
But at the time, he was like almost as big as like maybe Big Bird, I'd say. He got that close, and I guess. I don't know. I guess he just ran his course, and at one point, people just found him like super annoying. So
yeah, you haven't heard about Barney in ages.
No, he said goodbye to the game, baby. so the sketch where they have Charles Barkley kneeing and elbowing Barney in the face, it hit home with a lot of people. Yeah. And at one point, like you could see, like like as the game went on, Barkley's like, "Oh, where you at, Barney? You getting tired? You getting tired?" And then cut to Barney. He has like his tongue is hanging out and his head's all like stuffing is coming out, and one of his eyes.
That's hilarious.
He's like just beaten up, and then he just like slam dunks on Barney and hangs on the rim and all that stuff.
I just remembered.
With a bandage over his head.
There was a comic book where Charles Barkley plays 1-on-1 against Godzilla.
Oh,
yeah,
like a comic book.
Yeah. I can't remember if it was a full-length comic book or if it was just like an ad insert, but I guess that was a Charles Barkley thing. He did a lot of basketball against various reptiles.
Was that his wheelhouse?
I mean, maybe. It's kind of weird that somebody would go up against both Barney the dinosaur and Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
I didn't know that was his thing. Like it's going against.
He really needs a third.
Yeah,
we need to get like Charles Barkley in a Jurassic Park movie or something like that.
Now you're cooking.
Like
Charles Barkley in Jurassic World.
Yeah. Let's do that. Let's make that happen, Hollywood.
Him and Chris Pratt against.
We are just giving you gold ideas.
We really are.
You are just sitting on them.
Yeah, we should be charging for these golden nuggets.
But no, these pearls of wisdom are just falling out of our mouths. And do you appreciate them?
No. What, are you just going to go ahead and make another Fast and Furious? Oh, no. Why don't you just make our genius thing and have Charles Barkley go against a Velociraptor with Chris Pratt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
$30 million right there.
Exactly.
Opening weekend.
Right.
Is $30 million a lot for a movie? I just said 30.
I think
just
in
said
like
it.
1989.
Son of a... I just said $30 million because it's a lot to me.
It sounds impressive to us.
It does. It does. Yeah.
Was there anything else with Charles Barkley? I think you said he hosted a couple times, right?
Yeah. Well, he hosted in the 90s, and then he hosted again later. There's a lot more in the later ones. I think in the later ones, they were able to use him a little bit more, like his, because he is like a very stiff character and very kind of doesn't really emote a lot. So I think they did a lot of sketches where they use his stiffness and stillness to his advantage.
Right.
There was one called Jones Announcement where he dressed up as a woman and he announced to his friends
that seems to be a big go-to whenever they have the athletes host. They put them in drag.
Yeah, and then it's funny because it's a man with lipstick and a dress.
Well, also because they're very macho guys, and I mean they did that with Derek Jeter.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up too.
He did a sketch called The Yankee Wives.
Yes,
and they brought in another couple Yankees to play.
Yes,
were they playing their own wives?
No. Well, for those who don't know, the sketch is called The Yankee Wives. It had Anna Gasteyer in it, Amy Poehler, Maya Rudolph, and Rachel Dratch.
Okay.
And they were all at the ball game, and they're wives of the Yankees. And they sit together. They're the Yankee wives. And so they brought in the new Yankee wife, who was of Derek Jeter in drag.
Right.
And then they just talk about, how it is to be a Yankees wife. Maya Rudolph's character spoke very limited English. Okay. All the time she was like speaking Spanish, and she just said, ball, hit, slide.
The one line I remember from that was about Derek Jeter's appearance. They said he looked like The Rock had sex with a Muppet.
Yes.
And was that a line that they had Derek Jeter say himself?
Yes, it is.
Beautiful.
Because they were talking about all the players that they find attractive. Amy Poehler was married to Chuck Knobloch. And she was
I've heard of him.
She was getting extremely jealous of like any woman who wants to try to steal his man. And then Anna Gasteyer was like no one wants to have sex with Chuck Knobloch. Calm down. I don't even know who Chuck Knobloch is. That's just a funny thing to say.
I just enjoy that name,
Knobloch.
Chuck Knobloch.
It's a great last name.
That's a wonderful name.
Like that should be in like a comic book. Or something.
He is now my favorite player just by virtue of his name,
Knobloch.
Chuck Knobloch. I have no idea what his stats are. Anything like that? I just enjoy hearing the name Chuck Knobloch.
I don't even know if he plays anymore.
He probably doesn't, since this was a sketch from the 90s.
Yes. Wait, no, this was
or early 2000s,
early aughts. But yeah, 2001.
Okay.
So, but yeah, just Chuck Knobloch is just fun to say.
Yeah, that's still a ways back.
Yeah, so. It's wow. It was 18 years ago. So.
I know.
Oh, let's not think about that. So so like later on in the sketch, they talk about these maybe. Women of loose morals, we'll say, who were, I believe they called them skanks at some point. And
baseball groupies.
Yes, baseball groupies. And they were like, these groupies are trying to take our men. And, one of them flashed our dudes. And they're like, oh, wait, no, they're coming here. Be cool. And, of course, they come up. And, of course, there are two other players in drag. They are David Cohn and David Wells. And, it's very obvious that they're men in dresses. One of them still has a goatee. I swear to you, it's just a goatee, and a full goatee, wig, and a sparkly dress.
That's just funny.
And a halter top. And
so they're not passing, is what you're saying.
They are not in the least.
Okay.
And I think
they would not do well on RuPaul's Drag Race.
They would not. They would be eliminated.
Okay.
And it just ends in them being like, hey, your man wants to get with me because I'm all hot, and then they get into a brawl. I think that's kind of it's fun. I mean, but you're right. That is something that they do go to a lot, like just dudes in dresses. Like when in doubt, put that manly man in drag. So that's
a good go-to to have in your back pocket.
Absolutely,
I guess.
it's a good go-to.
Yeah,
exactly what you said. I was trying to think of another way to differently say what you said, and I couldn't think of it.
You could just say yes.
Yes. I could.
Well, who else you got? I think there were a couple other people you wanted to talk about.
There were a few others. I mean, I didn't write down a lot. I mean, Tom Brady had a couple of sketches. I mean, just very topical because of Super Bowl. He had one where it was him, Maya Rudolph, Rachel Dratch, and Rob Riggle. They were at the carnival, and the ongoing sketch was, the ongoing thing was they were at the one of the games at the carnival where they had to throw a football through a hole.
Okay.
And like everybody else was able to do it except for Tom Brady.
Oh, that's cute.
And like even the people who never played were able to do it, and Tom Brady couldn't do it. And
was he playing himself?
No, he was playing like some other guy. But
he's playing like Gary or
exactly.
All right.
Like who wanted let's get some funnel cake.
Okay.
Yeah, and there was actually one point I'm sure it was pretty problematic now where Seth Meyers and Fred Armisen were like a gay couple, and they were like, "Oh, what's this game? Let's play!" And they were able to kind of with a limp wrist throw a football through the hole, and they got it, and like everybody else was able to get it except Tom Brady. Oh, and Amy Poehler was an older woman and a rascal, and she drove up. She was able to do it, and then he's like, "Oh, you win a bear," and she was like, "Keep it." And she just like rascaled away.
Now, what was the context of this? Was he known for like being a really? I mean, obviously he's known for being a great athlete, but was he going through a slump then or anything like that?
I don't think so. I don't think there was any contact. I just thought it was like, oh, it was football.
So just wanted the fact that he's one of the more prominent players at the time, and
like, oh, he's a football player, and he should be able to throw a football through a hole, and he can't do it.
I'm sure one of our bigger sports fan listeners is just like, oh God, they're getting it all wrong.
God, I can't even listen to this.
I'm glad you were made fun of at gym class, Trumbull. I'm glad.
Oh,
you deserved it.
Angrily pulling out their earbuds. Oh.
That's not something you can really do. That's not an angry kind of gesture. But,
it's like trying to slam a screen door. You really
or trying to hang up a cell phone angrily.
Yeah,
you just
go.
Boop. It just doesn't work. Nope. It does not work.
It does not.
Did you have anybody else? Because I had one more person in my back pocket, but I think that's got to be our closer.
Okay. What, that one? Well, I mean, I was going to talk about the wrestlers.
Oh, yes. Let's talk about the wrestlers.
Let's go to your... Do you want to...
No. Let's talk about the wrestlers.
All right. So, So, I mean, like we said before, athletes, I've always kind of felt some athletes are good and some aren't when it comes to acting and sketches, except for wrestlers. And two of the strongest wrestlers who have hosted the show, John Cena, of course, who was on it pretty recently. And The Rock, who's been on it numerous times.
And I know, I didn't watch any sketches from this. I know Hulk Hogan. He hosted
back
in the day,
Hulk
back
Hogan,
in the 80s. I remember him in Fernando's Hideaway with Mr. T. I think they were promoting like one of the WrestleManias that they both did.
Right, and there was a thing where like I think Fernando was saying, because like when they were laughing, like their pectoral muscles were...
Yes.
And Fernando was like, when you laugh, your things, they go bam-de-bam-de-bam-de-bum.
Yeah.
And then they lost it.
And the amazing thing about the Fernando sketches is those were improvised from what I understand.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they had to have a rough time, but yeah, it was just Billy Crystal riffing.
Yeah. It really
which is
was
amazing.
I know. Like, I mean, one episode... I don't think... I thought this was part of an SNL, but it turned out it wasn't. It was when he was talking to George Steinbrenner. George Steinbrenner did host an episode. I couldn't find any episodes, but I watched this one clip where I thought it was part of SNL, but I think it was part of something else. And yeah, it just seemed like they were just talking naturally. It didn't seem like there was anything planned at all. Like he was just Billy Crystal was just kind of talking and riffing, and Steinbrenner was just talking and riffing. And I was like, oh wow, yeah, I guess those guys were just like it just seemed very natural.
I think probably Billy Crystal was able to do that because he was on the show during the Dick Ebersol era.
Yeah,
I don't think Lorne would have been cool with like, oh, I want to do an improvised sketch.
Right. Yeah.
Because Lorne apparently he plans the show very carefully, very, very rigorously.
Yeah, because I mean, time is of the essence.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's a live show. You have to be very aware of the time. And it's like, okay, well, we need to shave 2 minutes off of this sketch, or the Blues Brothers thing is going too long, or we had a laugh spread 30 seconds on this, so we have to shave time. I mean, I'm sure they're doing those last minute adjustments on the fly.
It's a well-oiled machine.
And it's really amazing when you think about all the technical aspects of putting that show together.
It's a marvel.
Yeah.
It is a marvel. But yeah, so the John Cena episode, there was actually some pretty good sketches. He's really adept, too. There was one with
good. I liked him in Trainwreck a lot. Yeah, he was very good in that.
There was a one in there was a sign presentation sketch. Where he was this jock who played for college football team, and he was he's supposed to give his presentation for a science fair, and I think he said like, I'm not gonna play in the big game unless I get an A because I care about my studies. So of course, the teacher was like, of course, and of course, they were gonna like pass him no matter what he did.
Right.
And so it was like him and 2 other students, and they worked on these like big elaborate machines, and he literally just nailed some bananas to a board, and that was it. And of course, the teacher was like, "Oh, interesting." One of the teachers had his face painted the colors of the team.
Oh,
they're like, "Oh no, this will be impartial."
Right.
And then they were like, so it was like bananas to a board, and one of the bananas was an orange. And and even one of the students was like, "Hey, that's an orange." It's like, "Hey, no, that's an orange colored banana, right? Eyes on your own paper." And of course,
so they're all just bending over backwards to have him pass so that he can play in the big game.
Very much so. And there was another sketch. It was a game show hosted by Charles Barkley, played by Kenan Thompson, called "Where'd Your Money Go?" And it was just like athletes who just lost all their money.
Oh, okay,
and
that's a good idea.
It was a pretty good sketch. He played Rob Gronkowski from the Patriots. Topical.
Okay, topical.
And there was another dating show sketch called Hook a Hunk, where he played the host, and it was like a dating thing where Cecily Strong was on, and it was like Kyle Mooney, Beck Bennett, and Mikey Day.
Okay.
And then when he came out, like suddenly Cecily Strong was like, "Oh my God, you're the host? You're so handsome. You're so handsome."
Oh,
and
yeah,
she's
this sounds familiar. Familiar.
And like she ends up making out with the host and like all the other contestants are like, are we're gonna play soon or what?
Oh,
it was
cool.
It was a funny one.
Yeah,
and
I can see John Cena being a good host. I don't really remember much about that specific show, but I'll have to look that up.
It's worth a look-see. And I mean, the big one, of course, is The Rock. Like he's a charismatic son of a bee.
He's hosted what is it, like at least 3 times?
I believe he's getting closer to 5-timers.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the one he's probably most known for, it was like I guess it wasn't really a recurring character. He did it like twice, but The Rock Obama.
Yeah, I didn't realize he'd done that twice.
He did it twice.
We talked about The Rock a little on our favorite hosts episode.
Right.
I know I brought him up, so we talked about a few Rock sketches on there, but we're going to talk about him again because we love The Rock.
He's a beautiful, beautiful man.
Yeah.
All right, so The Rock Obama, basically, it's based on this. It's basically like our former president, Barack Obama, how he's always calm under pressure, even when the people who oppose him or just get under his skin. He's always calm, never loses his temper. Like our president now,
right?
And how he just never gets angry. And
SNL, they could not do his anger translator Luther, because Key and Peele already had that territory sewn up.
They swooped that up.
So they did another thing.
They did a thing where Barack like slowly gets mad, and much like the Hulk, he turns from Barack Obama into The Rock Obama.
And the transformation sequence, I think they even used the same music from the old Bill Bixby, Lou Ferrigno Incredible Hulk show.
I could see that, yeah.
And they're showing close-ups of like the bicep bursting out of the sleeve with the clothes ripping and all that.
Right.
And then so they do a cutaway to that, and then they come back and it's The Rock in the tattered Obama clothing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just him basically throwing all the people who oppose him out of the window of the White House. And it's funny. In the first one, it was Fred Armisen turning into The Rock, and Andy Samberg was Rahm Emanuel.
Okay.
And like as Fred was getting angrier, Rahm was like, "Yes, get angry, get angry," and then like he turned to The Rock Obama and throws people out the window. And the second time, it was Jay Farrow. And he did
a pretty good Obama.
He did a great Obama.
His Obama was underrated.
Yeah. And so it's him again turning into The Rock Obama, throwing his detractors out the window. But they did a little twist where Shashir Zameda came in as Michelle Obama, and one of the Secret Service men came in saying something happened to her garden, and she's like, "My garden!" And then she gets angry.
Oh, they did a She-Hulk thing.
She turned to She-Rock Obama, which was Leslie. She turned to Leslie Jones.
I remember this.
And she rips off the arm of the Secret Service guys and beats him with it.
Nice.
So give that a look-see.
And there was one other Rock sketch you wanted to talk about. Well, I know we've talked about this one before, but I will talk about this sketch every damn week.
It is a doozy.
It is a doozy. Why don't you describe that? I know I described it last time.
It's the world's most evil invention competition.
Yes.
So basically, it's a collection of mad, evil scientists trying to figure out who has the most evil invention. Shashir Zameda had like a freeze ray.
Yeah.
I think Kyle Mooney had like a shrink ray.
Yeah.
And like they were like, "Ooh, so evil." Yes. And so The Rock comes in and it's like, "Hey, I'm Roy. I'm a scientist, and my invention is a robot that molests children. And like as he said that, I heard the audience really like, oh my God!
You can actually hear the audience recoil.
Yes.
Which is just such a wonderful reaction in comedy.
Right. And then
there's something perversely pleasing about that.
Yeah, and all the mad scientists, and it's like, oh my God, what are you doing? And they were all like, is this not the evil competition, is evil invention?
Obviously, this is the most evil thing, so therefore I win, right?
Yeah. And like she was like, I just made a freeze ray, and he was like, well, I just went a different way about it. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, I win, right?
The Rock is underplaying this so brilliantly. It would only be half as funny if he wasn't so casual and he wasn't so low key.
Yeah,
it's just wonderful. It really shows off what sort of chops he has. He's it's a funny sketch by itself, but his performance just really elevates it.
Yeah, he's really good in it too. Mm-hmm. And it's just because I just like the sketch. I think it's well written, and I just like how it kind of twists your idea of evil. Because in comic books and movies, we think this is evil, but then they bring in this real life evil.
I know, and
that's actually more evil than we can.
And the juxtaposition of that, and they really went to town on the costuming too, because they're all sort of what is that called? Where it's they're all sort of steampunk looking supervillains.
Yeah, like top hats and like frilly shirts.
They've got goggles and they're wearing like old fashioned lab coats,
dressed like Dexter's Laboratory.
Yeah, and that really enhances the comic book evil feeling of the bad guys, and then The Rock just comes in, and I think he's just like a regular guy in a lab coat.
Yeah.
And he's just like, hey, everyone. Yeah.
Well, I'm Roy.
Yeah.
I made a child molesting robot.
And
and then everybody's like, oh my. And then it ends with it kind of turns into like a commercial for White Castle. At the very end. And I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah, such a weird left turn.
It was. But, maybe they didn't know how to end it, so they're just like,
ending sketches is really, really tough. I mean, ending things in general is really, really tough.
You got to stick to your landing.
But
it's a great sketch. The ending, it's up for debate.
So
who's your last guy? Let's go.
My last guy, it's another notable athlete. It was somebody who was on the show with the original cast. It was a show that aired in season 3.
Okay.
February 25th, 1978.
Ooh.
It was a Mr. O.J. Simpson with musical guest Ashford and Simpson. Wow. No relation.
Very Simpson. That's right.
O.J. Simpson hosted SNL.
O.J. Simpson hosted SNL
in 1978. This was when O.J. was notable for a slightly different reason than he is notable for today.
It's before all that.
It was before the Nickelodeon show All That. It was because that show did not premiere until like the 90s, I think.
That was good.
Thank you. So yeah, this is when OJ was still beloved football star. OJ. This is even pre-Naked Gun.
Pre-Naked Gun.
This is before OJ even had any sort of acting career, I think. Well, no, wait. I think he'd done Towering Inferno.
Oh, okay.
Before this, because that was early 70s. So,
but yeah, like
and he was in the original Roots. I know.
He was?
He's somewhere in Roots. I've never watched all of Roots because I was very young when it came out.
On Black History Month. You son of a bitch.
Okay. How is it that I'm getting piled on when we're talking about O.J. Simpson?
I don't know. but we are. Here we are.
I did a little research on this episode.
Because I knew he hosted, but I just could not find
I knew he hosted
proof anywhere.
I remember actually watching in 1990 or 91 when they had the 15th anniversary special about SNL.
Okay.
OJ came on, he did a little segment, and they showed a clip of when he hosted, because this is 1990, this is still beloved OJ.
Right.
We have no idea what's going on behind the scenes.
Right.
And he showed a clip of, it was a sketch where he and Bill Murray kissed on the lips.
Huh.
And I, this went into the memory bank. I remember this, and I'm sure if they market the 15th anniversary special, they probably edit that segment out.
Yeah.
I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I don't know for sure. I looked up a little about that sketch. That sketch was a sketch called Mandingo 2. Because there was a movie in the mid 70s called Mandingo about an escaped slave, I believe.
Oh.
And this has OJ as a slave who he kisses Garrett Morris, who is a fellow slave, Lorraine Newman, who was playing the daughter of the slave owner, and Bill Murray, who was playing the farmer, who I believe was the slave owner.
Wait, so he kisses all these people?
He kisses all these people in quick succession.
Okay.
I couldn't, information on this episode is limited. Let me just put it that way.
I wonder why.
Who knows?
Something must have happened. I don't know.
Yeah. One description I found, it's masters and slave reign hot passion in the ultimate censor test. So
Jesus H.
That was a description I found on one of the websites I looked at.
Christ almighty. Wow.
There was also, this really reminds me what an edgy show SNL was when it premiered. The beginning of the episode, it had James at 16 marries Roman Polanski, will not be seen tonight. So, and I don't know if this is, I believe this had to be after the Roman Polanski charges came out. I don't want to say allegations, but
there you go. Thank you.
Oh, and one for OJ.
There you go. Yeah. Holy hell.
And they had a cold open for the show where it was just Gilda Radner coming out and answering audience questions. And I think this was in the Gilda documentary that you just recently watched on CNN.
Right.
And she's answering audience questions, and they're all from audience members named Kevin. And OJ, for the monologue of this, he came out as a conehead. He was a black conehead. He had one of the conehead
I saw a picture
pointed
of that.
heads. And another sketch from this show was Samurai Night Fever.
Yeah.
This sketch is available.
Where? I didn't see it.
I found it on the SNL app.
I got to download this
I did
app.
a search. I signed up for the
this
SNL app.
This podcast is a real big proponent. It's a good advertising for the app.
We are educating people.
That's right.
And I did a search on O.J. Simpson. This was the one result that got.
You got to be careful.
Well, I think it was like O.J. Simpson, and then maybe his monologue. But this was the only sketch that came up, and this was John Belushi doing his samurai character.
Right.
And this was 1978, so Saturday Night Fever is the big thing.
Right, of course.
And they're doing a direct thing on it. O.J. Simpson's not in it that much, which is probably why they released that sketch.
Okay.
It's more a direct parody of the movie, where it's Bill Murray's playing the father and Gilda Radner, and I think it was Lorraine Newman, where they were also in there. And then they cut up to his room, and he's playing. Belushi is playing a cross between the samurai and John Travolta as what was his character name in
Tony Manero.
As Tony Manero, and he's got his samurai outfit, but he's got the black butterfly collar from that, and they're playing the Bee Gees, and they go to a disco. The disco is like green screened in.
Oh yeah.
During the disco sequences, everybody's got like this weird green halo because the green screen technology wasn't quite there yet in the late 70s. And the samurai, he teaches OJ to disco dance.
He has to teach him to disco.
Yeah. OJ's wearing like a sweater vest, so he's not a real hip and happening guy.
I see.
And at one point, this is notable, OJ stops the samurai from stabbing himself.
Might want to hit that bell again. There you go.
We're going to take a moment to just contemplate that, OJ stopping someone from stabbing themselves.
I'm just not going to say anything.
So that was
wow.
That was
how yeah.
But that was and Ashford and Simpson were also
let's talk about that
on the show.
This Did they do what else? I forget what else. I know they did Solid Like a Rock. I forget. I know they wrote a bunch of hits. I know
that's true.
They wrote Ain't No Mountain High Enough and some other stuff.
That's true. They were very notable.
Yes.
Yeah, as far as I know, no relation.
But that O.J. Simpson.
I mean that I'm sure it's on the season set, because I know they released at least the first 5 years or so of.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So it's got to be on the season set.
Got to be.
I can't imagine them not including it completely, but
it's possible.
I mean, this has obviously fallen down the pop cultural memory hole.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. I totally forgot about it until we just mentioned it just now.
If it wasn't for that clip on the 15th anniversary show, I would have had no idea. But I was like, I got to look up information about this and find out what this was like. Because who's going to see it in these days?
No one. It is staying buried. Oh,
buried.
And speaking of buried, and another... well, no, not speaking of buried.
Simpson.
And
speaking of buried.
No, I shouldn't have said that. But like, what I meant to say was another athlete who was a host of SNL, whose episodes you can't find anymore.
Okay,
Lance Armstrong.
Yes,
he hosted. I tried to find it online. I couldn't find it anywhere.
I know he hosted again when he was like at the height of his fame.
Yeah,
and he was like dating Sheryl Crow, and Sheryl Crow was the musical guest. 2005. Wow, that's later than I thought. Because I mean, he won like 3 or 4 Tour de France's.
I believe so.
He
was a big deal.
Yeah, let me see. Let me see what I can find.
But let's put on some hold music.
Well, I thought you might have something to say while I tried to look up some
maybe Well, here, while you look it up, here's some other people who we didn't get a chance to talk about much, but who've also hosted some episodes. Celebs, athletes that have hosted SNL. Peyton Manning, LeBron James, Jeff Gordon, John Madden, Eli Manning.
Billy Martin hosted, I saw.
Billy Martin, Nancy Kerrigan hosted. Chris Everett. Ronda Rousey.
I actually found, when I was researching, I found like a Rolling Stone page that was like, it was when Ronda Rousey's episode was coming up. And it was like, and here are like the top 10 athletes who've hosted SNL. And I'm looking at that because I want to find the most notable people. Funny thing was the rights for all the photos that they used on this had expired. So they'd been automatically replaced with all photos of Ronda Rousey. So like
I did see that.
The entry for Charles Barkley was just a photo of Ronda Rousey.
Ronda Rousey.
I mean, I'm just like 10 photos of Ronda Rousey.
Mr. Black. That was who else? Carl Weathers, Howard Cosell, Marvin Hagler, George Foreman, Walter Payton.
I tried to find the George Foreman sketch. There was some sketch where he's reading Goodnight Moon to Chris Elliott. And I couldn't find that. I couldn't get that.
A lot of you are kind of tough to find. Bob Uecker, the great Bob Uecker, just a bit outside. Alex Karras, who of course I think it was a Dad and Webster or something. What else? John Madden, Jeff Gordon. I said that already. That's most of it. Andy Roddick. Andy Roddick.
Roddick.
See, we don't know sports. Bill Russell and Frank Tarkenton. And Jeff Gordon. I'm just saying
who is again. Jeff Gordon's a race car driver, right?
Yes. Michael Phelps, I believe he hosted as well. Johnny Mosley, is that what I wrote? And that's all I got.
Okay.
Did you find?
I'm not finding anything particularly notable. As it took me a while to get to the site. So,
son of a beast.
All right, guess.
Gonna end on a big note.
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking with O.J. Simpson. I was thinking that was our closer. I called it.
Well, no, I was just okay. All right, easy.
So this is.
You getting all upset after this whole basketball.
Look,
camp.
the guys called me names in gym class. Okay.
All right. Hey,
all right. All right. No,
it's not your fault. I said that in the beginning of the show.
All right. I'm getting there. This is not a website that is made to be looked up on a phone. So it was in October of 2005. He did Celebrity Ironman Fire Alert 3000. This is Lance Armstrong, by the way.
Okay.
There was an O'Reilly factor. Carol. Do you remember that sketch? The Horatio Sands in drag? I'm Carol.
No.
Okay.
I do not.
You have mercifully forgotten that one.
I did.
There's something called Trump's Cameo. I'm not even going to click on that.
Let's not.
So, but yeah, this was this was Lance Armstrong before he. Yeah, it's kind of
before he became a.
It's kind of weird when somebody hosts and then they're very notable and beloved at the time.
Yeah, and then they become like a huge villain.
Yeah, and
it's like
because Lance Armstrong and O.J. Simpson and I don't believe Bill Cosby ever hosted, but we'll just give
just cover.
Damn it! I broke the bell again.
What did you do,
we
Ray?
So many people. There we go. There's one for Bill.
Yeah. But yeah, it's always weird when you see like, oh, this lovable person hosted the show, and now you go back and you're like, oh, that person's actually a monster.
In retrospect, they're horrifying. Yeah.
And that's our show.
And that's our.
In retrospect, everyone is horrifying.
Yeah, it is.
But The Rock is cool, right? For now.
Yeah. Oh God, it would kill me if we find out something horrifying about The Rock. I hope we haven't jinxed him now.
He might vote Republican, but that's about it. But there's some good Republicans out there, I think.
I'm sure. Law averages.
Yeah. Mr. Rogers was cool. He was a Republican.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. If you watched did you watch the documentary?
No, I didn't see that. Won't You Be My Neighbor?
Yeah,
I need to see that.
They talk about like how he was pretty conservative and he was a Republican.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, he was a minister. So.
That's true. I mean, but he believed in equal rights and just treating people with human decency.
Right.
So like maybe by today's standards, he'd probably be like a bleeding heart lib, I guess.
That's at least like somebody in the center.
Yes, exactly.
So.
But yeah, so
I mean, treat people with decency. That's not part of their platform anymore.
Yeah. Oh boy, we get political on this podcast.
We do. I mean, even when it's not a political show.
It just
politics. It warps its way into your life.
Its way in.
But we have talked quite a bit now. This is
how long have we been talking?
We've been talking. For a while. I don't.
All right.
I start recording a little early, so we're coming up on 120 minutes.
Ay caramba!
Not 120 minutes. 1 hour 20 minutes.
Wow.
See, that's how fried I am.
Like the Matt Pinfield show.
Yes.
120 minutes.
120 minutes. Oh. I know somebody who knew Matt Pinfield.
What?
He was buddies with Matt Pinfield.
We'll talk about that. Wow. We always goes to MSL and MTV hosts. Somehow, one or another.
Always, like twice.
Yeah, that's a lot.
I mean,
it's more than once.
Yeah. But we're going to be back with the show next week because SNL is back with a new episode.
Yes.
With Halsey as the host and the musical guest.
Yes.
Who I just found out has been on the show earlier this season. She was. Yeah. She was actually on when Lil Wayne was the musical guest. Oh. She was on with Lil Wayne in his first musical number. I discovered this. This is when I texted you during the week.
Oh, right, you did, yes.
Cause
I read that.
Because I,
oh boy,
because like the Lil Wayne's second song from the show.
Right.
What was it called? Like
uproar. Wheezy up to heezy.
It was up something.
Sneezy.
I'm blanking on the title, but I really like the song, and I was like listening to the song, and I listened to the version they did on SNL.
Oh yeah, Uproar.
Thank you. And then I listened to his other song, and Halsey was the woman that he was performing with. So
I did not know that.
I guess they really liked her when she was on earlier this year. Yeah. I haven't found out more about Halsey yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing what she does on the show.
Well, I mean, just the little I looked her up a little bit on IMDb. It doesn't seem like she's done like a lot of acting, which is a little concerning for me. Like aside from her,
we just did an entire show about people who haven't done a lot of acting. Let's keep an open mind here, Darren Patterson.
You know what? I stand corrected. But yeah, I mean, aside from her music videos and like she's done like some voiceover work on cartoons and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, oh, she hasn't really done a lot of acting. And
she must have some project to plug, I guess, like a new album or something, or
never. I mean, she maybe has like a new album coming up. I think she did a voice on. She did a voice on Teen Titans Go to the Movies.
Oh well, I enjoyed that movie. That was a funny movie.
She played Wonder Woman, and another cool note I found. She's from Jersey. She's a Jersey girl. So there,
Jersey represent.
There she goes. I'm trying to it's weird. According to Wikipedia, she's from Edison, but according to IMDb, she's from Clark. So she's one of the. Either way, she's from Jersey.
Wikipedia and IMDb. You guys got to get together on this.
Hash it out. We'll rent out a boardroom.
We'll get Adam Sandler there. I think she's from Edison, or maybe she's from Clark. I don't know where she's from. All right, but we will be back next week to talk about that episode. We're looking forward to it. And,
anything to plug? Anything?
We should plug the SNL Nerds Twitter page. That's at SNL Nerds Show.
SNL Nerds Show.
And we're also on Facebook, just SNL Nerds there.
Yes. And, if you want to follow me, I'm at Darren Credible, DARIN Credible on Twitter. And if you're in Jersey, I have a couple shows coming up on the 13th. I'll be in Jersey City on the Crockpot Comedy Show.
Nice.
At Pet Shop. And on the 20-something or other, 28th, I'm going to say, I'll be in Rutherford, New Jersey at Paisanos hosting for Kevin Downey Jr.
Nice.
Yes,
nice.
February 28th.
All right. So please go catch Darren at those shows. You can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Trumbull Comic. And until then, we will see you next week.
Later.
Bye.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.